Welcome to Unforbidden Truth. I'm Andrew. Today I'll be speaking with convicted murderer Barbara Phillips. The homicide of Uwe Durbin in Riverside County, California in 1997 was a brutal and premeditated crime committed by Lester Harlan Wilson and his wife, Barbara Phillips. On June 8, 1997, Wilson and Phillips went to Durbin's brother's apartment where they found Mike Durbin and his family. Wilson held Mike at gunpoint, demanded to know the whereabouts of his stolen property, and forced the entire family to accompany him in his search for Durbin. When they encountered Durbin on the street, Wilson confronted him about the theft, and after receiving a no satisfactory answer, forced him into the car and drove him to their home. At their residence, the situation had escalated into a horrifying ordeal. Wilson and Phillips subjected Durbin to severe physical abuse, including a beating with fists and a pair of gloves filled with D-cell batteries, burning him with a blowtorch and pouring bleach into his wounds. Despite the brutal assault, Durbin remained alive but unresponsive. The couple then forced Durbin's brother's girlfriend to perform sexual acts and threatened to kill her family if she reported the incident. Eventually, they decided to release the family members, warning them against contacting the authorities. The following morning, Durbin's body was discovered in a drainage ditch along the Highway 91 freeway. He had been shot multiple times in the head, and forensic evidence indicated that he had also suffered from blunt force trauma, burns, and other injuries consistent with torture. Investigators found bloodstains, spent shell casings, and other items at the crime scene and at Wilson's home, linking him to the crime. Wilson was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and torture. In 2000, a jury convicted him of these charges, and he was sentenced to death. However, the California Supreme Court later overturned the death sentence due to an error during jury deliberations. In a retrial in 2010, Wilson was convicted again and sentenced to death. The court affirmed the conviction in 2023, emphasizing the severity of the crimes and the overwhelming evidence against him. Barbara Phillips was convicted of first-degree murder, kidnapping, personal use of a firearm, torture, and GBI. She was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. The case of Durbin's murder is a tragic example of extreme violence and the devastating impact of unchecked rage. It underscores the importance of thorough legal proceedings and the necessity of holding individuals accountable for such heinous acts. Durbin's death left a lasting scar on his family and the community, serving as a somber reminder of the potential consequences of violent behavior. Here's my interview with convicted murderer Barbara Phillips.
You have a prepaid call from
Barbara Phillips,
an incarcerated individual at the California Institution for Women, Corona, California.
my name is Barbara Phillips, and I am from Los Angeles, California.
Can you recall any positive memories that stick out to you from your childhood?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of positive memories. I have negative memories, but I have a lot of positives. Like I had a rare opportunity to go to summer camp, and I think it was with the YMCA in Inglewood, California. So that was something rare for kids in my part of the neighborhood. I went to summer camp.
What about, can you recall any negative memories that stick out to you from your childhood?
Well, the negative memories I can remember, from the violence in the home, my mother and father, domestic violence in the home, and then just violence in the neighborhood. I remember when I was like 5 or 6 years old, one of my classmates was kidnapped and killed. He was only like 5 or 6 years old like me, little kid.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Was that person ever caught? Did they go to prison?
No, the person who killed my little classmate, I don't think he was ever caught.
Oh, okay. That's wild. Well, hopefully with new technology and everything, he or she will eventually be arrested, because cold cases are being cracked like every week now.
What I learned about Los Angeles, when it was people of color that was killed, they didn't investigate it. They didn't investigate it. I didn't know that then as a little kid, but as I learned when my brother got killed when I was 18, they do not investigate murders. They just chop them up to gang violence or just another statistic, but they do not investigate it. You have to be more affluent for your case to get investigated. They did not investigate it.
So did they ever investigate your brother's homicide? Is that still open or is that closed?
Never did. They just wrote it off as gang violence. Never did. My older brother was shot in '94. He survived, and then he eventually succumbed to his injuries, but they never investigated. So that's just something, you know, and I think that's why people get riled up with the police. It's one thing, you don't investigate our deaths, but when you are the culprit and you kill one of ours, then yeah, you should be investigated. I'm on the phone.
So going back a little bit to your childhood, did you ever suffer any type of childhood abuse or trauma yourself?
Not molested or anything. I was never molested or anything like that. I was a product of my environment, that I learned how to fight real early, and just learned how to fight and defend myself. They guess probably considered me not a bad child, but by me being a baby, I just learned how to fight.
Who taught you to survive and how to fight?
The brother that got killed.
Oh, okay.
And my other sisters, because they were 4 and 5 years older than me.
Were they treated good too, like they weren't abused or anything like that?
No, we just saw a lot of violence. Like my dad's side, they were more alcoholics, so his side of the family was around us more. And when they drink, they fought. So we was exposed to that.
Okay. So your mom and dad were together.
So we fought. Yeah, they was together up until I was about 7. They were together.
Okay. All right. So at home, what was your behavior like growing up?
Actually, I was a kid, the little girl that liked to play with her baby dolls. You know, I was that little girl. You know, little girl with her easy bake oven. You know, I was that little girl. I have somewhat of a childhood. I remember my oldest brother, who was 13 years older than me, and he was working at Bethlehem still. He took me to previews at the Disney, like in Disneyland when they had a movie preview. I was dressed up real pretty and taken to previews. I went to Ice Capades. I did things like my other siblings didn't get to do, but I did, and that's because of my oldest brother. He always would try to change the ambiance or whatever was going on. You know, I knew, like, in his room, like he had his own room because he was adult, but I knew that when I didn't want them to bother me, I would go to his room and just wait for him to get off of work. Because I knew that in his room there is no arguing, there is no fighting, you know, none of that.
So what was your behavior like in school, focusing more on your middle school and high school years?
School was easy for me because I was pretty smart, so it was easy for me. I got bored. I think in the 9th grade, I got bored, and I used to start ditching school because I was really, really bored. I would literally go and sleep in history and make an A, and I'd be sleeping in our class. But somehow I absorbed it or something, but I was just really smart, and I got bored, and I ditched. But I like school. I love to learn. I've always loved to learn. So it's just basic. I started working in high school. I started working at 15. So I had a job at McDonald's. That was one of my real first jobs of clocking in. So just went to school, went to work, come home.
So did you engage in any criminal activity as a juvenile?
No, never did.
What about as an adult prior to the cases you're serving time for now?
No, I didn't.
So what was life like before you, as an adult, prior to coming to prison? What was life like then?
Well, I had my first daughter at 20 years old. I was in a relationship with her father, and he was really abusive. So I've learned since being in prison is that I attracted the same type of relationship that I saw my parents in, which was abusive. And I was abused. Like, fault, kick, socks. I was abused. So when I finally left, I left. And then my other kid's father, I had made up my mind that I needed to figure out a career choice. So with my second daughter, that's when I went and enrolled in school, in nursing school. So I went to school to be a nurse.
Is that what you wanted to do with your life, become a nurse?
Yeah, well, I realized that it became a passion. I was always interested in medical field, and I enjoyed it. And it gave me an opportunity to take care of my children, you know. Even like with my children, I didn't give child support, so I just took care of my kids with the money I made. And my mother, she would babysit for me. So I had support from her. And that's who eventually raised my children, was my mom.
So you mentioned abuse. Was that abuse from Lester Wilson by chance?
The abuse I suffered with him, I saw the red flags, like when the shaking start, or he didn't choke me, but he will push me. You know what I mean? So, but it was starting to escalate. His abuse was more financial and pushing and shaking.
So before we talk about the crimes that took place, can you talk about how you met your co-defendant, Lester Wilson?
Okay. So let me explain to you something. With my daughter's father, he was like the sole provider. He took care of me. Yes, he sold drugs, but he took care of me. And in his mind, I guess because he was taking care of me, that he felt he could fight me and all that. I was literally like a housewife. And the abuse was more verbal abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. It was that. I mean, he hit all cycles of the wheel. So when I met the co-defendant, when I met his mother, so between the two of them, it was like that's what convinced me to be with him. I did not know he had 30 aliases names. I did not know a lot. Like, their whole intentions was, I guess she wanted a baby with an African-American mother. I was pregnant, and I lost the baby because of the stress he was putting me under. I got pregnant again, so they know I'm pregnant. He cut the brake lines on the car. I mean, he was doing gaslighting stuff. He's the one, now that I really look at it and reflect on it, he's the one who set the house up to be robbed. Hell, he probably helped rob it, but needed somebody to blame. He needed a way to kick off my anger. The whole 6 months I was with him, I was probably angry every day, trying to figure out how to get away from him. But none of this is ever really reflected on because my lawyer never presented anything like that.
Okay, so let's talk about the crime or crimes that took place. Can you walk me through everything that led up to the kidnapping and murder of Uwe Durbin and talk about each charge you picked up?
Well, the thing about each charge that was picked up, and I'm going to have to do a disclaimer, Andrew.
Okay.
Again, because if you're only going by what's on the trial record, it was all done to assist him. My lawyer did not have a license, so nothing was preserved for me. So I got a charge vicariously from the acts of others, not because I physically did anything. I did what he told me to do, but nobody don't know that I was never allowed to drive my car again once we got back to the house. Nobody don't know that I'm telling him to tear this off because they don't want to know that. They want to make it seem like, oh, they was in cahoots together. No, I didn't want it to escalate like that. In the trial records, it says that me and the victim's brother took a bike back. We took the bike back. I didn't have a gun. We took the bike back together to come back together. I'm telling him to let him take him to the hospital or whatever. But again, they twisted it and turned it around because I never had anybody to present an affirmative defense for me. So it's really hard for me to say this because they'll go back and say, oh, well, she's lying, but nothing was ever presented for me. So, I mean, if we go with the record, I don't know. That's why I keep trying to challenge the record. I keep challenging the record. They don't want me to.
Right.
So anything I say, they're going to say it's not on record, and it's not.
Right. So I know you're saying you didn't participate, right? Did you witness it, or like
were you? I did not witness it.
You didn't witness it?
I was not present when the person got shot. No, I didn't witness it.
Okay.
But he kept me close enough to him so I can be charged with it. When I got to county jail, he started sending letters like, hey, they go easier on first-time offenders. So basically, like cops or something I didn't do, I didn't witness, but he was trying to influence me to cop to it. I'm like, I got 3 little kids. I'm pregnant, but I got 3 little kids at home that don't have nobody. He don't care. He didn't care. He didn't care.
So how long after the crime took place were you two arrested? It was just you two, right?
Yeah, it was just us two that was arrested. It from I think it was around like 11 or 12 at night, and they came that morning because we went back to the house. He made me take off all my clothes, I guess to keep me from running. So when the police did come, I literally ran out the house naked. But my jury never knew that because I was scared he was going to use me as a shield or something. So I ran.
And what happened to him?
No, he came down, but because once he saw me run, you was not using me for a shield. I ran. You know, they put me in like in a little holding cell for 8 hours. They didn't interrogate me for 8. They left me in a little holding cell for 8 hours, a little dark holding cell for 8 hours. No bathroom, no water, no nothing. And then when they interrogate me, they are telling me straight up, we're going to have CPS go pick up your children in Moreno Valley. Well, who knows my kids are in Moreno Valley, but my co-defendant. You're trying to send CPS to get my kids. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just, it was a lot. It was a lot. He was using the system to destroy me. When the co-defendant,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
That's still locked up. I had never met him. He had never met me. He said, hey, man, she's pregnant. Let your wife go. He said, oh, I'm not doing a life sentence for nobody. So they let me know that you basically is going to ride this out until I have all your charges.
What charge is he convicted of?
I was convicted of all of his charges except rape. And the lady was trying to put rape charges on me. And I knew nothing about a rape. Like, you know, it was stuff going on that I did not know about. But, like, I have a gun charge. I have a GBI charge. I have the torture charge. And I'm like, I didn't witness the torture and I didn't torture nobody. But I have it because he got it. The kidnap, I was made to get in the passenger side, and I never came in contact with the victim at all. But the kidnap, it's like when I look at taking my victims classes, victim impact classes, and I'm like, well, I should have called the police. So I could have did this different. I was replaying on what I possibly could have done. So I get it. And as I come to this day, I'm not trying to say, hey, I need to be responsible or culpable for what I actually did. But a life without sentence for a murder that I had no intention of doing, no. And now that I've served, I've been down 27 years now.
Were you offered any plea deals before you went to trial?
Never.
So you took it to trial the whole way and you got life without?
They never offered me anything.
So how did you react emotionally when they read that sentence out?
I cried because I was really begging for her to really hear me out that I was an abused woman. I was begging, like, basically a sentence that reflect what I actually did. You know what I mean? But I think the lady, and she died, Judge Sherman, she died of breast cancer, but she was like, no, I can only give you a mandatory sentence. But I do remember her telling my jury, don't worry about what sentence you give. Whatever you convict her of is what you convict her of. I'm the one who sentences her. So y'all don't worry about that. But so my jury never knew. Yes, they convicted me of first-degree murder, but you would think that I would have got 25 to life or something like that. And that's what I thought I was facing, 25 to life. Not a mandatory life without parole.
So do you remember what the bus or van ride was like after being sentenced? Like what it was like on your way to prison?
I was devastated. I'd already been separated from my children. I was going to be sent 7 to 8 hours away, and I was going to never, really see or hold my children. And then when I got there, I was closed custody. So I did a whole full 15 years of being closed custody. So it was, it was a challenge, I mean, my kids still love me, and they know I love them, but I encourage them to go forward with their lives, but it's hard. It's hard on all of us. And my mom is 82 now, so it's just really hard. My dad died, so.
So your dad passed away while you were in prison?
Yes, he did. Dr. Phil, I did a Dr. Phil show 2008, 2010 or something, and he was asking us, how do you tell your children you're never coming home? I said, I would not ever tell my kids that.
Yeah.
I tell them, never say never, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, that would be tough. Whether you were doing life or death, for that matter, it would be hard to tell your kid that for sure. I don't know how I'd do that. So nowadays, how do you spend your time in prison?
Well, I'm in the media center. I work in the media center as a media technician. I'm learning how to take pictures with photography, and I'm learning how to edit film when we do videos of graduation. We did our first cook show in prison, the first in the state of California. So learning how to create content, positive content for the community. And I'm in college again. I went back when this college is in-person professors, so it's different. So I'm doing that to occupy my time.
Oh, really? Is that for your associates, or is that beyond that?
Is that what? Oh, it's for the associates again, because when I graduated from Coastline, they never acknowledged me. They never acknowledged me because I'm a life without parole. So I've never had a graduation and all that stuff.
What's your major?
Right now, there's liberal arts. But when I got the other AA, it was in behavior and social science.
Oh, okay.
Because I was accepted into the bachelor's program, but they maneuvered me up out of it. So, I just have to go with the flow. Usually, you just got to pick your battles, especially when you're LWAP, because the LWAP, you're a low man on a totem pole. You're not a priority. So we just have to get in where we fit in.
Right, yeah, I understand life without parole and death sentences for that matter. It's near impossible to get anything or get anything done or do anything positive when it comes to rehabilitation or school or whatever, because they say you don't need it and it's a waste of time, money, and efforts, and which is kind of sad. But
right.
I mean, but people get out of there's guys going home that had death sentences in California right now because of the moratorium and being shipped all over. They're being resentenced, so it's kind of crazy.
Mhm. They are, but the women that we're at a standstill. He only commuted 2 women this last go around. 2 women. The other ones, we're all at a standstill, and these people been down 40 and 50 years, you know.
Yeah. I've met some people that have been incarcerated for almost 40 years, and I think that's really crazy. I can only imagine there's people that have been in prison for almost 50 years. Yeah, that's just wild to me. That's really sad. Like Charles Manson, he was in prison for 60-something years, or I don't know how long he was in prison for.
I gave birth in prison, in county jail, and they made me wear those big old chunklets, too big for me, ankles shackled, waist chains on. It's a miracle that my little girl survived. They used to do raves, having us cough and swat. A lot of girls was losing their babies. But my little girl, she survived, you know. And right now she's in college majoring in marketing.
So if you don't think you deserve life without parole, what do you think would have been an appropriate sentence for your sentencing in your case?
Well, what I thought when I got convicted, I was told by the probation person that I was facing 25 to life. That's what I thought. Then Banks passed, the People versus Banks in 2015 came through. Okay, it said if you are a felony murder case, they got to prove what did you do to be, the burden of proof is on the prosecutor to prove what did you do to be a major participant. What did you do? Did you go get the gun, provide the guns? What did you do? Second, what did you do recklessly to bring about this person's demise? What did you do? I didn't do anything. I didn't call the police. I didn't that type of, but I didn't physically do anything to help this person be killed. So then they vacate the murder, but they give you the other charges, but they look at what did you physically do. So if it's involuntary manslaughter. If it's the low term of kidnapping, because I was made to get in the car and I'm on the passenger side, but I was forced to get in the car. So the low term of kidnapping. But all that other stuff, no.
So one more question about the crime. So did you witness or hear him, like with your own ears or with your own eyes, see him assaulting her in any way?
No, I did not. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I did not. But my co-defendant kept me near enough. I don't care if it was in a room away or yard. He kept me further enough, but close enough to be charged with the charged with it. He knew exactly what he was doing because he has an extensive track record. I didn't know this. I thought that maybe he had did time for selling drugs. Okay. But I didn't know that this person had many aliases. I didn't know, like my sister asked me, he had attempted murder on a police officer but got acquitted. I'm like, I didn't know nothing about that. Never. You know, so I didn't know. This was really a bad character. So I just didn't know.
Are you religious these days?
I am. I'm of Christian faith. I practice Christianity. I live Christianity the best of my ability. And that is what prayer and faith is what keeps me going every day.
So right now, are you currently in court with your case? Like, is there any movement?
I am in appellate court, and that appeal attorney, he probably won't appreciate me doing the radio thing, or podcast, but I've been doing it by myself for so long that I need help. I really need help. I gave Unite the People $8,000, and they went, get this shit. They went and they just threw the case. They threw the case. And I gave these people $8,000 to absolutely do nothing for me. So, and that's another thing, when they keep me at the whim of people that's lying about wanting to represent people, and they really don't. They just want the money. They know you're going to be in jail, so that it's like the joke's on me, because my mother has spent a lot of money on me, but I'm still in prison. So I'm putting it out there. I need help. sincere help.
So, is there anything that you'd like the public to know about yourself or this case?
Well, I want the public to understand that to the best of my ability, even at the beginning of the crime, the judge even stated that I was trying to be accountable. I was trying to be accountable then. I knew what I didn't do, but I knew that I could have did something to try to help, you know. Now, after all these years, I try not to be bitter about it. I just know that I will be an asset at home. I just know that my kids who are victims, as well as the victims, my mother has been a victim of all of this, that at least give them, those victims, some vindication. That's all I ask, is to give my mother, my children, an opportunity to reunite with me. I know they'll say that the deceased can't reunite with his family, but I spent 27 years in prison, and I paid off my restitution on my own, you know. So it's like, it's not that I'm not trying to be mindful of my victim. I try to honor his memory by doing good to other people, you know. So just know that I don't take the crime lightly, that I do care, and I'm a human being, and I'm just asking for a second chance.
All right, so before we conclude this interview, is there anything that you'd like to talk about that we haven't covered yet?
I'm just, at this point in the game, I'm so freaking discouraged. So I don't know.
Well, people get out all the time. I mean, I wouldn't be too discouraged because, like I tell guys on death row, like I'm sure it's super scary hearing that they're going to kill you one day. But guys get off death row all the time, and I guess women do too sometimes, even though there's not as many women on death row. But there's guys literally going home that, like, there's a guy that was on death row for the rape and murder of a woman that I'm interviewing soon, and he killed another man. He's doing it concurrently, and he's doing 46 and a half years for 2 homicides, which isn't bad at all considered how Texas and Florida and Ohio and Oklahoma operate. Like, one homicide is almost guaranteed to be death sentence.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Well, I will say this. I have helped other people with similar cases to mine, and they're out. I don't know if they're out because of their race. I don't know if they're out because it's L.A. County, and L.A. County got Gascon, and I'm out of Riverside. This case is out of Riverside County, and they say they hard on crime, but everybody should want to correct a disparate sentence. You know, it's only right. That's part of their officers of the court. They should want to correct a disparate sentence. You know, that's all. So I'm discouraged. I am. And thank you so much.
That was my interview with convicted murderer Barbara Phillips. If you'd like to support the show, go pick up some merch at unforbiddentruth.org. Thank you for listening. See you on the next one.